scary.
That really
Hey everyone! This is Oh That's Scary. I am your spirit guide for the evening, Jessica Johnson from Wisconsin. It is Friday the 13th in 2020, so what a better time for me to sit in my closet with a White Claw and talk to you about ghosts. Honestly. Cheers. Let's crack it open. I'm also awaiting results for a COVID test, so things are extra spooky if you know what I'm saying. So I'm trapped in my home. You're more than likely trapped in yours, and don't worry, I'm not like super sick or anything. I'm lucky. I am just a caregiver for somebody, so I have to be careful when even I get like a little sniffle. I want to be sure that I'm not gonna infect somebody who could get very ill. So, I'm here. And I'm thinking maybe you're here too. So we're all thriving, we're all surviving, and crack open a drink or two with me and succumb to the darkness. And let's get right into it. Let's get into story number 2 about the haunted house that I grew up in. And let's just also say that I am also stuck here with my boyfriend and my dog. So my boyfriend's playing video games in the living room. I mean, I'm in my closet, but you can still kind of like hear him scream sometimes when he dies. So unfortunate, the poor man. So if you hear somebody yelling in the background, I swear to God, I'm not killing somebody. It's just my boyfriend who has RIP'd in a video game. And my dog is in the bedroom connected to the closet that I am in currently. So she might jingle her collar every once in a while. So anyways, just so you know what to expect. Creepy sounds. I wish that, it was something more exciting, but it really isn't. Anyways, so let's do this. The second story that I'm going to talk about is I was about 13, I would say. I was in middle school for sure, because I remember the friend group that I had at the time and everything. Well, this takes place in a shower. And it was the downstairs bathroom, and I know that this bathroom was mentioned, I think in the story that Christina talked about, how she was creeped out by the bathroom. She was talking about this bathroom. So I thought, what a better time to share this story since, Christina kind of talked about it in her story. So this bathroom was attached to the house through the attached garage. So there was the attached garage, then there was the bathroom, and then the rest of the house. And the history behind the attached apartment garage is that it was turned into an apartment for my grandpa who was dying. He got very ill. I'd never met him. He died before I was born. So it was made for him so that he could have somewhere to go and stay that was on one level. It was a lot easier for him to move around in when he was really sick. So he didn't die there. He died in the hospital. So suspicions about who's haunting the place. I mean, my family, now when I speak with them, they don't think that it was him. We'll just put that out there. But this bathroom always, always, always gave me the creeps. Any time of day. Doesn't matter what time of day. I was paranoid. So this is when I learned what the word paranoid meant, because my parents could not understand why I didn't want to take a shower in there. I was just petrified. I remember I would beg my mom to, come sit in the bathroom with me while I'm taking a shower because I'm scared. And she'd be like, "No, you're growing up, like, you can do this, like, you're practically like a teenager, just go take a shower." And I'd cry and cry. And I remember I would leave the bathroom doors open and I'd be like, "Nobody come over here, I'm taking a shower, but I'm leaving the doors open." And they were like, "What the heck, why?" And other times when I wasn't able to do that, I would leave the curtain of the shower open, and I would drench the whole bathroom with water. And my mom would get really mad and be like, "You need to stop doing this. Like, are you leaving the curtain open? Shut the damn curtain." And so I couldn't do that anymore. And so I just remember constantly peeking out of this curtain because I don't really know how to describe the feeling that I would get. I would get a feeling of someone is in that bathroom. Somebody is watching. Somebody is like waiting for you to be off guard and they're gonna do something. Like there was someone in there. So I was scared to death whenever I had to go in there. And I could never really explain it. Like, I don't know. I feel like something's gonna reach out and touch me. Something's there. How do I explain that to somebody without sounding crazy? So, this day in particular, it was around mid morning. And that's why also this story is so strange to me because it was in the middle of the day. So, I mean, you picture scary things happening. I mean, most of the time it's in the middle of the night or what have you. At least it's dark. But this was, I mean, mid morning. I mean, I slept in that day. I think it was a weekend. So I slept in and I was home alone. And I was often home alone because, well, my parents, they own a restaurant. And so they were always like there taking care of business. I had an older brother. He's never home. You know, he's out with his friends. And so it was just me. And I remember I had to take a shower because, you know, I was going to go hang out with my friends. And so I got in the shower and I always turned the radio on because if I didn't, I felt like I was going to hear something or I don't know. It just helped me feel like something, like some kind of comfort, I guess. So I always had the radio on and really loud. I started to like rinse my hair of shampoo. I just started to get a really, really sick feeling in like the pit of my stomach. Again, that feeling like somebody is in here, somebody's in here. And I try to ignore it, you know, and I try to tell myself, no, you're being paranoid. It's nothing. Just wash your damn self. Like it shouldn't be so difficult. But I couldn't like stop thinking about it. Like it was like that fight or flight response within me was just like, you need to get the fuck out of here. So I don't even think my hair was completely rinsed. I just couldn't stand to be in there anymore. I turned off the water and opened the curtain, and I remember I just grabbed my towel and immediately turned off the radio because I was just gonna dry off and get the heck out of there. I turned off the radio and it was quiet, and I was drying off from the door that was on the side where the apartment is connected because there's two doors. There's one door on the bathroom where the apartment connects, and there's another door where the rest of the house connects. And from the door connected to the apartment, I heard a voice, and it sounded like this. It said, "Jessica." And I just felt this chill from my top of my head down to my toes just go through my body, and I just bolted out of there. Like I didn't even have my towel all the way around me. Thank God I was home alone because that would have been awkward, but I ran the hell out of there. I remember I waited a little bit after that. I went back in the bathroom and I went up to the door to the apartment. It was still locked where I had it locked when I was in the shower. And I turned the knob. I was like, hello? Who is down there? Who's messing with me? Cut it out. And I was like, called for my brother, thinking maybe it was him or one of his friends. And there was no response. So I just kind of turned back and went into the rest of the house. I remember calling my mom, who was at work, and I was like, who in the heck is in the house? Like, who's here right now? And she's like, I don't know. Like, your dad's here with me. your brother's, he told me he's with his friends. Why, what happened? And I told her what happened. And of course, she was like, oh, yeah, well, maybe you're just hearing things. Maybe it was the radio came back on quick or something. I mean, classic mom. That was always her response. There was some kind of excuse for a sound or an event that happened that was completely unexplainable. But not to her. She always had an answer until I moved out, which I can't wait to get to that because, man, if I could go back now as a middle schooler and be like, "Oh yeah, mom, how about you come home and you feel this, and I'll go somewhere else." I mean, I, it was frustrating. Nobody believed me, and these things at this point, before this, I mean, I had been touched. I had seen things. I had been interacted with in other ways, but I had never heard a voice. And this was a whole different realm for me, and I didn't know how to take it. And the voice, it sounded like, I'm trying to scare you, like, I see you, kind of a thing. Like, I know you know I'm here. And that is not okay with me. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. I'm sitting in my fucking closet. Like, I don't like it. But it's what happened. And yeah, that's another story that I tell people that freaks them out, and you try to live in it. We are going to go over some emails that were sent to me from other people and their experiences. I think I have about 3 of them here, and they're a little bit shorter. So let's go through them. So Jim, this one is from you. And Jim says, "Hi, here are 2 happenings with 2 different people in my family. In February of 1985, my 80-year-old grandmother was hospitalized. She had Alzheimer's. On the night of February 21st, my grandfather was in bed sleeping, and he heard my grandmother in the kitchen rattling pots and pans in the sink. He got up, as he has done many times in the past, to bring her back to bed. When he got to the kitchen, he realized she was in the hospital. He started to go back to bed, and as he passed the phone in the hallway, it rang. He answered, and it was the hospital calling him to inform him that my grandmother had passed. I believe it was her telling him goodbye." That is really sad. Really sad, but really sweet. Jim also says, in 1990, my wife and I moved into my childhood home. This is the home where my father died about 15 years earlier. My wife never knew my dad, and I didn't have any pictures of him she would have seen. Our bathroom was at the top of the stairs, and my wife at night would go and leave the bathroom door open. On several occasions, she told me that there was a man on the stairs, but she never felt threatened. One day we were at my mother's house, and out came the photo albums. When my wife saw a picture of my dad, she said, "That's the man I see on the stairs." That is a creepy story. Okay, and then our second email is from Jason. And Jason says, "I was working a midnight shift in a nursing home. This was an old building, which was previously a hospital. From time to time, we would have residents out of bed wandering around. This was nothing out of the ordinary. My partner and I were at the end of a long hallway. We see a person in all white, which was odd, but residents get new pajamas sometimes, we are not always told. We could not tell who it was. We see her walk from one room to another. The room she walked in was a private room, so there is no bathroom which connected to an additional room. We were also on the top floor of the building. We walked all the way down the hallway and turned into the room. No one was in there. We had a clear view of the doorway the whole time. No way out of the room, no one missing, and you needed a code to get on to or off of the floor. We both saw the exact same person. Strangest and scariest damn thing ever. Yeah. There's nothing like institutional hauntings that like creep out not only me, I'm sure everyone more. I mean, so much death, so much sadness, so many emotions just bottled up in one building. And I mean, some would argue that people can get stuck there, after they pass. And God, what a terrifying thought to be stuck somewhere like that. I just hope that that was just a person passing through and not somebody who was trapped there, because that would be really tragic. And then Jason has a second story and says he was driving alone on 35 northbound. It was late, 3:30ish in the morning. He was heading home from the cities, back up to the Twin Ports. I was the only car heading north at the time. I could see headlights way behind me. They were obviously catching up, but slowly. Just another car. It continued to catch up over the next couple of miles. It was really flying along. I figured it was some kids out hot rodding. The car did not pass. It got right up in my bumper with the lights blasting into my rear window. I couldn't see anyone in the driver's seat. It sat right off my bumper, maybe 3 to 4 feet away. I tried to speed up. It stayed with me, matching speed, right off my bumper. After maybe 2 miles, it flat out disappeared. Didn't slow down, didn't turn off, just gone. Hair was on end the rest of the way home. Was thankful when I got up by Cloquet and saw some other cars with visible drivers. Hope you enjoy those. I mean, yeah, how could you not? Ghost cars. This is the second story now that has mentioned a ghost car. And I just have never heard more ghost car stories in my entire life. I really haven't. And they're really cool and really creepy. Keep them coming. I would be horrified. I mean, I'm paranoid enough when I'm driving. I just, like, somebody takes the same 2 turns as me, and I'm like, oh my God, they're following me. They're following me. Like, I'm some FBI agent or something. Like I have something somebody would want. Then really, I'm just super poor and probably, like, disgusting looking, so I don't I don't know why I think this all the time, but I always think somebody's following me, and if I found out that it was a ghost person following me and they're just gonna friggin' disappear when they felt like it, don't like it. Not at all. Okay. This is our last one by Jennifer, who she saw me post in the Minnesota Murderinos Facebook page about the podcast, just, trying to get the word out. And she commented that she had a story and sent one my way. So this is really great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It takes place at the Buckingham in Minneapolis. And that's an important piece of information with the story. This is what Jennifer says. I don't go around seeing ghosts everywhere. The last ghost I saw was in 1983 when I lived in an apartment building called the Buckingham. I was in my bedroom when I saw a shadowy silhouette of a man enter, stand and stare at me, and proceed to get in bed with me. In bed, oh God, I'm like, in bed, he leaned over and studied my face carefully. I didn't get any sort of sense that he was threatening. Rather, he seemed confused by my presence. I got scared and spent the rest of the evening in the living room. The next night, he came in again, looked at me, and sighed as if he was not pleased to see me there. He proceeded to get in bed with me again. I made my way out and spent the remainder of my lease sleeping in the living room where I experienced no paranormal activity. Oh my God. I mean, I shared that I get these night terrors every once in a while of a man standing over my bed. I mean, it's super quick, so it doesn't really last long enough for me to think too much about it. But if he was to try to climb in bed with me, oh my god, I would probably lose my shit. Um, it's scary enough sometimes just to see a figure standing over you when you're sleeping, but for something to physically climb in the bed next to you, it's disgusting. But also for them to sigh like, "Oh God, why is she in my bed again?" And yet he decided to join you anyway. Like, dude, you take the couch tonight. I don't understand. Like, you can have the couch. I'll be here. Like, he's not paying rent. I don't know. Maybe he thinks he is. Oh, it's a good story though. I enjoyed it. So thank you so much for your emails. For those of you who sent them, and I'm in major need of more stories. Believe it or not. I mean, I put out my first episode, and I thought, oh my gosh, people are gonna hear it maybe, and they'll send me emails. No, I have like nothing. I'm dry. I need more. So please, I know you have spooky stories. I know you do. And I know that you know someone who has a spooky story. Like, we are in a pandemic. You can't tell me you don't have time to write me a scary story. But don't make it up. Don't just make some shit up. I really want it to be real. Well, as real can be. So please, 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 opethatscary@gmail.com. Help a girl out. Send me your scary stories. And please send them to that email address. I did start a Facebook page for the podcast. I do have some people that know me personally that are sending me things to my personal accounts, and Facebook Messenger, that kind of thing. I don't check that shit. So, and I don't like to, but if I get this sent in an email, I will check it. I actually have an alert on my phone for it. Everything else is silenced. So I am excited to get these. Please, please send them. And I'm done begging now. I really love you guys. I do. But I need you. So in the last episode, during my interview with Alex, it was briefly mentioned at the very end of the interview. She says, and don't whistle at night. Well, people have reached out to me asking me what that means. What does it mean to whistle at night? Why shouldn't you do it? And I have heard it before from my good friend, Savannah. And so she has written me to explain to those who do not know what that means. And so I'll just read her message. As long as I can remember, my dad always told me to never whistle at night. As a kid, I didn't understand, but I understood when my dad took things seriously, so I never even learned how to whistle. But as I got older, I had some questions. Whistling seemed like such a normal, non-threatening tool we as humans can use. We use it to call our dogs, get someone's attention, or if we just have a song stuck in our head. But why shouldn't we whistle at night? Well, for the same reasons I just listed. When we whistle, we are typically calling out for something, and when it's dark, we don't know what is out there and what we could be calling out to. Now, this is a pretty simple explanation, but that's just the basis of it. On a more spiritual level, I'll give you some background on myself first. I was born and raised in the Twin Ports as an Ojibwe woman learning traditional ways of living life with my family. In my culture, Ojibwes often use whistles for specific purposes, such as spiritual and ceremonial reasons. So to randomly whistle is strange. And to whistle at night is even more strange because what could you possibly want to call out to at night, right? Well, that pretty much sums it up. Oh, and a fun fact, whether you'd like to believe it or not, it is up to you all, but you know the big bulbs that grow on the sides of trees? Well, some people would say that those are the homes of creatures, and when you whistle, they climb out and come to you. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Sleep well. And then she put a smiley face emoji with the shades on. I reached out to a Facebook group, which is for podcasters, like new podcasters, begging for some stories, begging for any suggestions of where I could go to find people who will tell me their stories, just being desperate. And somebody reached out to me. Her name is Brianne. she said that she had a UFO story and asked if I was willing to listen to that. And I said, hell yeah, of course I'm listening to your UFO story. I've been begging for UFO stories. I love them. I don't have many of my own, so I just want to hear all about it. So she sent me a recording of herself telling her story, which I'm so grateful for, and I'm really excited for you to hear her story. And she also, I will plug her podcast for her. Her podcast is called Today's Lucky Winner. It's a scripted fiction, comedy, murder mystery / supernatural podcast. You can find it on any social media at Lucky Winner Show. So I suggest that you give that a peek. And here is her story about her UFO experience.
Hi, I'm Brianne Leeson, and this is my UFO encounter. It was late August in 2010. I was attending university in British Columbia, and I was making the long drive from Texas back to BC for the start of a new school year. My Canadian boyfriend had spent the summer with me, and we decided to make the drive back a long one and visit some folks along the way. We allotted an extra day to spend in Fresno, California. One of my university dorm mates was from Fresno, and she wanted to take us to spend some time at Mount Shasta. We drove the winding road to Mount Shasta. We picked up some pizza from one of her favorite local places, and we grabbed a 6-pack of beer. It was later in the afternoon when we parked at the head of a trail she frequented. It was a fairly short walk to where we'd enjoy our pizza and beer. There was a clearing at the shore of the lake where we laid out a blanket and enjoyed our picnic. We quickly lost track of time as we filled each other in about our summer activities. Before we knew it, it was dark. Our tummies full of pizza, we were lying there, enjoying just how many stars we could see from there. That's when it happened. There was a quick and blinding flash of light. It was like someone had used the flash on their camera about 2 feet away from our faces, but we were the only ones there. When we'd all finally stopped seeing spots, we noticed some new lights among the stars that weren't there before the flash. There were 3 lights in the shape of an isosceles triangle. They were distinct from the stars or a plane as they moved in concert with one another, keeping constant distance. This huge triangle spun and darted from the right to the left. Suddenly, all 3 lights went out simultaneously. As quickly as they disappeared, they returned. This time orange. These now orange lights began floating apart from their triangle shape. Finally, this once cohesive unit became 3 orange dots, darting erratically in the skyline, before darting into a blur behind the mountain and disappearing. Needless to say, we hauled ass back to the car. I don't know what we saw that night. I'm a natural skeptic. Later, I looked up triangle UFO lights. The formation I saw is an extremely common sight all over the world. There are actually some sightings in Miami and Houston from 2020 that match what I saw. I also learned that Mount Shasta is home to all sorts of supernatural and paranormal experiences and legends. Those include legends of an entire hidden city beneath the mountain and numerous UFO sightings. I'm still skeptical, but the experience opened up my mind to possibilities I wouldn't have been receptive to before.
Thank you so much, Brianne, for sharing that with me. And really, you guys check out her podcast. Today's Lucky Winner Show is her for all social media. So check her out. Okay, so in this time that it's taken me to make this second episode, I'm the dumbass who started a podcast in the middle of a pandemic. So I am struggling to, be able to meet up with people and get interviews. Obviously, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I was waiting for results for a test, and they are negative. I've figured that out a long time now, since the making of this episode. So yeah, it's taken me a long time. But I was able to meet up with my dad and some of his friends in his garage, and we were having a few drinks, and I asked them about any paranormal experiences that they have had, and I had a lot of stories that were spewed at me, and I picked a couple that I wanted to share on this episode with you. Maybe I'll share a few of the others on future episodes, but these stories these stories are really good ones, and I think they fit well with the theme of the rest of the episodes. So that night was a lot of fun. It was good to hear these stories, and this is the whole point of this podcast, is to get together with people, have a few drinks, and try to get these stories out of people. Sometimes it takes a little liquid courage for people to talk about this kind of stuff. And you're going to hear every once in a while there are skeptics in the background who don't quite agree or believe that these stories are real. There's always going to be those people. You might be one of them, especially when alcohol is involved. Maybe they're making it up, and I can't say for sure if they are, if they aren't, but they seem pretty convinced of their stories. So you listen, you think for yourself. I just think it's fun. I love hearing it, and I hope you do too. So here it is.
Me and my dad were snowmobiling across, going over to the gravel, where the gravel pit is now. And there used to be just this little tiny trail that we're going to cross there. And he was on a faster sled, and I'm on this old sled. And I'm putzing across there behind him, and he's gone. And I'm following the trail along.
On four-wheelers?
No, old snowmobiles. These old
I
snowmobiles.
must miss that.
And this is like, I was probably like 12 or something. And it's just a tiny little trail, and it's a long, like 2-mile trail through the woods. And it's dark out, and we're gonna just go over for a ride over to Creshes and back. And we get over halfway through, and he takes off, and he beats me through. All of a sudden, I see a headlight bouncing back towards me, and I go, and he stops, and he says, and it was only wide enough for two, and one snowmobile, and he says, "Get off your snowmobile."
Is this the dead deer story?
Yeah.
Oh God.
And he says, turn around. He flips my snowmobile around and takes off, and he says, we got to get out of here. So we go back home, and the next day we went out there. He says he saw this light come over in the middle of this big field, in the middle of nowhere, and he saw this big light, like thing go down and do something. And we went out there the next day. My dad went out there or something, and we went out there, and there's this blood and deer everywhere, just like just blood and guts and mess and just everything. And I remember telling Rick that
You told
story.
me this story 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I asked my dad about it, and he says, I don't know, but he says, this is the second time this has ever happened out here, but this is the first time that I've ever seen nothing like this. He says, don't take that trail unless you're doing it during the day. Don't go out there. And I'm like going, okay,
Old black truck my first truck that I ever had.
that big.
Yeah, I lifted.
The one with the windows out of it?
Yeah. I was driving that thing going to Creshes, and it overheated. And I was heading towards the Four Corners, and you went straight to the gravel pit, or you went right. And it overheated so bad I had to stop. I was like, okay, I gotta walk to Creshes. And I got out. I mean, it overheated so bad it was like pinging, and the motor locked up. I was like, oh, great. And then I got out, I started walking, and I was like, oh, I hear music. I was like a mile away from that intersection, the same spot where you put the green bean up in the snowbank. Oh, there's somebody down there drinking beer or something, 'cause I hear music. And I walked down the intersection. There's nobody here. And now the music is gone. And then I started hearing like stuff in the woods. Crunch, 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 like sticks breaking and shit. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? I'm like, there's shit in the woods, and I'm going, okay, my truck is broke down, and I'm hearing stuff in the woods. And I kept hearing it. And as I was walking back to my truck, I was still hearing this stuff parallel me in the woods. So I finally started running back to my truck, and I got in it, and I just hammered it down to Creshes, and the thing was like pinging and popping, and rods knocking and shaking. It was so hot. I don't know what the hell that was.
Okay, so you can now listen to the podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, which means you can also hear me on iTunes, Overcast, Castro, Castbox, and Pocket Casts. So no excuses. You can listen to this bitch. I'm soon to be on more apps. I am also on YouTube. And if you didn't already know, I started a Facebook page for the podcast, and it's all under, of course, Ope That's Scary, sometimes without the exclamation point because they don't allow it, which is stupid. It's always an Ope and not an ope that's scary. It's an ope that's scary. Anyway, so when sending in your stories, like I said, please continue to send them to opethatscary@gmail.com and nowhere else. Please do it. I'm so thankful for the support the show already has, and I can't wait to see where it takes us. I have a really cool idea for the next episode. I'm gonna deep dive into some it's paranormal things. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be a surprise. We're gonna do a deep dive, and it's gonna be a little bit different, and I'm excited to do this every few episodes because I can't always have a ton of interviews with everybody, getting the plague. So let's just get creative, and I think you guys are really gonna like it. It's gonna take some research and such, and school is coming to a close for this semester, so hopefully I'll have the extra time to put in for it, and the school gives me some cool resources to use. Anyway, so I think you'll like it. I'll like it. It'll be fun. It'll be spooky. That's what it's about, folks. It's about scaring the shit out of everyone. So please rate, subscribe, and share all the bullshit. Just do it. That's how I get recognized, is if you guys are liking, subscribing, and sharing. I'll see you next time, and of course, sleep tight, bitches.
Oops, that's scary.
You said oops.
What's it supposed to be? Oops. Oops. Somebody else said.
Oh, like oh, that's scary.